Hey everyone, thank you for choosing Williampedia. I make funny videos about historical facts I find online. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. Today we're going to be talking about one of history's most successful imposters. You know, like when the imposter is sus! His name is Ferdinand Waldo De Mara. He impersonated countless professions, never graduated high school, and the reason that he did it is hilarious, but we'll get to that near the end of the video. So let's just jump right in. Born in Lawrence, Massachusetts in the year 1921, Ferdinand Waldo De Mara Jr. was raised in an upper-class Roman Catholic family. His father, Ferdinand Waldo De Mara Sr., was a movie theater operator. And in true 1920s fashion, that was a job that could provide for an entire family, I guess. Sidebar, I did some ballpark estimates for the time period, and his father would have been making anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 a year to be considered upper class in the 20s, which means that he made the modern equivalent of anywhere from $170,000 to $500,000 a year for operating a movie projector. He could have been making $500,000. I can't even count to $500,000. I digress. At age 7, the market crash of 1929 financially ruined his father and forced his family to move to a much poorer part of Lawrence. This, however, did not dampen De Mara's spirits. His parents always described him as a prankster and a joker who took great pleasure in messing with people for no particular reason. So essentially, he loved trolling. His father stated, "I love the boy, but I don't know him. He has a really brilliant mind, but I've never been able to understand him. I don't think anybody else understands him either." Which is honestly kind of just a 1920s father thing to say. You live with the kid, he's half you, and you don't understand him? That's a weak excuse. Poor parenting, but you can't blame him. Economic depression, World War I. He's allowed to be a little bit emotionally distant, maybe. He was always a little bit fatter, and even played football at age 15, but never got playtime because he literally just wouldn't listen to what the coach told him to do. Or what anyone told him to do, for that matter. From a very young age, it was obvious that De Mara was an incredibly independent person. In fact, at age 16, De Mara ran away from home to join the Catholic Trappist monks. He lasted 2 years there before his supervisor sent him to join the Brothers of Charity, where he would teach 4th grade. Apparently, though, he never really taught the kids anything and would just take them on field trips constantly instead. The kids loved it, and his superiors hated it. In 1941, at age 20, his teaching style led to a heated argument with his supervisor, the first of many arguments with supervisors he would have over the course of his life, that made him so mad he stole a station wagon, drove to Boston, and joined the army. You ever just get so mad that you enlist in the army? We've all been there, am I right? He enlisted in the army for 2 months and then went AWOL. This is when his life of impersonation began. Sidebar. It's a very funny time in American history for someone to dedicate their life to trolling, considering the fact that World War II just started and the Great Depression is still in full swing. To see the world in such turmoil and be like, who give a shit, is honestly hilarious. He spent the next couple months under an old army buddy's name, Anthony Ignolia. First, he joined a different Trappist monastery in Kentucky under this new name, but had to leave as soon as he ran into an old acquaintance who could reveal his real identity. He returned home to Massachusetts, where his father tried to convince him to turn himself in to the army for desertion. I imagine the conversation went something like this.
"Come on, Junior, you know it's the right thing to do. Turn yourself in."
"Oh, come on, Dad. You know I don't want to go to jail. You know what they do to guys like me in jail." "Oh, guys, come on. I'm not that fat. Don't eat me."
No, I don't think I do.
"Rats. I don't know either."
I just think you should turn yourself in. Come on, it's the right thing to do.
"All right, I've thought about it. I'll meet you in the middle. I won't turn myself in, and I'll join the Navy."
I can't believe this.
This is, in fact, exactly what he did. After Pearl Harbor was bombed in December of 1941, he knew he had to enlist. He was assigned to a destroyer, the USS Ellis, and sent to hospital school in Norfolk, Virginia, to train as a medical corpsman. This was his only formal medical education, and this is important to remember for later.
Did you have any medical knowledge at all?
The only medical background I had, Groucho, was that which I obtained as a hospital corpsman in the United States Navy.
He tried to forge college transcripts to apply to be an officer because he felt that, quote, "there are certain aspects of landing on a beach that I don't exactly relish," which is a polite way of saying that he'd rather not have his head blown off in Normandy. His fake transcripts didn't include enough math, and he was declined for the program. He tried again with new transcripts, but the Navy caught on and dismissed them as well. After a failed second attempt, he said, quote, "I decided to leave the service temporarily." When he said temporarily, he meant forever. And when he said decided to leave the service, he meant that he faked his suicide and ran like hell. The very next day, after deserting his second branch of the US military, he took on the new title of Dr. Robert Linton French, a PhD psychologist who had recently commissioned as an officer in the US Navy. Sidebar, I think it's pretty funny that there's a noticeable pattern in De Mara's impersonations where he'll try to become a certain thing and then fail at that, and whenever he becomes a new character, he just writes it into the next one. He failed to become an officer in the Navy, so he just said that the next person he was already was an officer in the Navy. If it's all a lie, I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of funny. As this new character, he arrived at the new Subiaco Abbey, a Catholic Benedictine monastery in Arkansas. For those of you keeping score at home, this is the 4th monastery that he has tried to join, and it certainly won't be the last. He only lasted a few weeks before the abbot summoned him to the office to discuss forged documents, and they kicked him out. Again. In 1942, at age 21, he left Arkansas and traveled north to Chicago to join the Clerics of St. Viator. To join the Clerics of St. Viator, you must be a Catholic beforehand. It's a good time to remind the viewer that our friend De Mara was already a Catholic, but Dr. Robert French was not. So he found a local priest who would teach him Catholic dogma and convert him. He was able to learn quickly and was baptized for the second time within 5 days of instruction. This began one of his longest tenures spent anywhere over the course of his career. He became a cleric and spent time taking college classes at DePaul University. According to university records, he was an Excelsior student who achieved all A's in the courses of rational psychology, metaphysics, cosmology, epistemology, ethics, and natural theology. Though De Mara shrugs it off as, maybe the instructors were just impressed with my PhD, as he would mark all of his assignments with his full title and officially stamp them with his seal. Side note, his official stamp seal included his name, his profession, and his personal Latin motto, esse quam videre. If I have any Romans in the audience, you're probably already laughing at this statement. Or you're long dead from Gothic invasion. The rough translation is to be rather than to seem. What a shitter. Like, nobody gave him that motto. He chose that for himself. He's just laughing in their faces at that point. He's funny. He's a funny guy, okay? He's funny. He spent 3 long years with the Clerics of St. Viator. He was even sent to Central Illinois to complete his final year of seminary and become a full Catholic priest. Retrospectively, he stated, "There was nothing I would have liked more, but I couldn't go ahead without telling those men the truth about myself." So he mustered up the courage, he gathered his faith, and he did what he knew he had to do. Leave without telling anybody and never come back, which is exactly what he did. Monastery number 5 down. In 1945, at age 24, he moved on to join the Order of St. Camillus in Milwaukee, but didn't last long after getting into a fight with an elderly priest who insulted his cooking and doubted he was a doctor. Evidently, he was getting a little bit tired of that whole monk thing and decided to use his fake credentials to get a job as a professor. This man did not finish high school, mind you. Yet, he found a job at Gannon College in Erie, Pennsylvania as, get this, Dean of fucking Philosophy.
I got myself an appointment as Dean of a
You
college.
became a melancholy dean of a college?
That's right.
If you were good enough to be a dean, why didn't you get the job under your own name?
Because, of course, I'm not academically qualified, Groucho. I never finished high school.
You became a college dean and you never graduated from high school, huh? I know our educational system has some holes in it, but I've never realized these holes.
He taught a variety of psychology courses in this new role. I really can't stress enough to the viewer that Ferdinand Waldo De Mara never technically graduated from college, or high school, or pretty much any training he ever took part in. He liked this job a lot. I mean, obviously, it's either this or nothing. This guy has no credentials, but he got fired after taking massive advantage of his budget as dean to buy extravagant furniture for his office. I mean, he may have also forged some of the checks that he used to buy them, but that doesn't matter. He would go on to find work teaching psychology at St. Martin's College in Washington. When asked how he was comfortable teaching subjects he knew nothing about, he laughed and said, "Why? I just keep ahead of the class," meaning that he would just read them the night before and then teach them the day after. In this position, he became something of a local celebrity and friends with many local politicians. Even the current sheriff made him an honorary sheriff's deputy and fire department official, with a county-issued handgun and a siren for his personal vehicle. In his own biography, autobiography, he writes,
For a man who wasn't even a registered voter, the Jolly Benedictine was breaking political speed records.
Side note, De Mara also was constantly trying to prove to everyone that he was rich, despite being poor for practically his entire life. Regardless of situation or profession, he was always making an effort to make sure that people knew that he was balling out on every level. During his time at St. Martin's, he made an effort to be seen depositing money at the bank at least once a day or be seen in public with what De Mara called a roll of cash so big it, quote, would choke a horse. Also worth mentioning is that most of the money was either fake or just $1 bills rolled up. So like maybe $110. He blundered when he accidentally mentioned to the abbot of St. Martin's College that he had been to New Subiaco Abbey in Arkansas, the very same abbey he was kicked out of for forged documents. The abbot sent a letter to New Subiaco, and when a letter returned confirming that Dr. French was not really a doctor, or French, he called De Mara to his office, where he was promptly greeted by 2 FBI agents who proceeded to arrest and escort him to the Naval Detention Barracks in Seattle, Washington. Now is probably a good time to remind the viewer that De Mara had deserted during a time of war. A world war, the second one. A charge for such a crime in the United States is punishable by death sentence, though he defended himself well enough in court with no assistance from a lawyer and was able to talk his way into a sentence of 1.5 years for both desertions at the U.S. disciplinary barracks in San Pedro, California. Upon his release, he was a completely changed man. Not actually, though, because he immediately started impersonating a biologist named Dr. Cecil Hammond. De Mara was, however, much more cautious this time around, as he had learned his lesson from forging documents, so he decided to procure the actual copy of Cecil Hammond's birth certificate and college transcripts. When asked how he did this, he said that he would just call the hospital that he was born at or the college that he attended and, cry until they sent him a copy. It's also funny to mention that the real Dr. Cecil Hammond knew that he was being impersonated through word of mouth and was like, oh man, I'm gonna do something about this when I get around to it, because he never got around to it. He said that he would, and then he never did. He never did anything about it. He didn't even care. De Mara used these credentials to enroll in law school through night classes at Northeastern University.
Hey, wait a minute, I hate doing school.
Before realizing that he actually hated formal education. He then chose to join a 6th monastery and attend seminary once again with the Brothers of Christian Instruction. He told them he was a doctor from Boston, and the monks were in dire need of teachers, so they were ecstatic. Now, officially as a member of the Brothers of Christian Instruction, he decided to found a college for the order. And he did. He spearheaded the project. He petitioned the state to get rights to build the college, and once they received them, he was told by his supervisors that he was not going to be considered to be president, dean, or even a head of a department, and they were only going to grant him the role of biology professor. This made him furious. He is quoted as saying, "I swear to God that if I had had some dynamite and known how to use it, I would have blown Lemonade College," that was the idiotic name they were planning for my school, "off the face of the earth." While he served with the Brothers of Christian Instruction, he became acquainted with his most famous target of impersonation, Dr. Joseph C. Sear. Dr. Sear was a general practitioner working in Canada. Dr. Sear wanted to acquire a medical license in the United States, and Dr. Sear, soon to be, was very, very willing to assist him in this process by taking his real official credentialed documents to the Maine Medical Board, and nowhere else, of course. Now, conveniently feeling that he had done enough work for the brothers, he decided to start his 3rd career in the military. In March of 1951, at age 29, De Mara, under the name Dr. Joseph C. Sear, arrived at the Royal Canadian Navy recruiting office and signed up to fight in the Korean War. 3 short months after signing up, he was sent to Korea aboard the destroyer-class vessel called the HMCS Cayuga, holding 12 officers, 280 enlisted men, and 1 singular medical officer himself.
Oh, I've been a surgeon lieutenant in the Royal Canadian Navy.
You operated on people?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that rather dangerous?
You might say that.
Writer Ray Kavanaugh described it, quote, "As the wounded arrived, he ordered personnel to carry them to a table and prep them for operation. Quickly disappearing to his private room, he would read quickly on how to perform the next procedure. Then, with icy concentration, he would return to the operating table. The surgeries he performed ranged from tonsil removal to major wound care to one alleged surgery where he removed a bullet that was lodged directly next to a soldier's heart. He performed surgery this way on a confirmed 16 people, and miraculously, none of them died underneath his care. He didn't have a single patient die that he took care of. His commanding officer felt he did such an incredible job that he commended him for a medal and wrote a letter of recommendation to the Naval Command saying, quote, "It was clear to all of us in Cayuga that our Joe deserved a medal for obvious bravery." This man has deserted 2 branches of military. He has never completed any kind of medical training. He's never been to medical school, and he's getting a medal for it.
Did you receive any honors
Yes,
in the medical corps?
I was decorated by the Korean government.
By the Korean government. Which side, the North or South?
This letter of recommendation would lead to the real Dr. Sear hearing about it in the paper and not being too happy.
What finally happened to your job as a doctor?
Because of this decoration I received, the press officer on board the ship sent dispatches back to Canada, and it appeared in the Canadian press. And the doctor whom I was impersonating suddenly came to life and said, well, I'm here, not in Korea. And the Royal Canadian Mounted Policeman that investigated the thing told me afterwards, quite confidentially, that he was about ready to throw the real doctor in the bucket.
Shortly after being discovered, he was returned to Canada to face charges, of which there were none. The Naval Authority felt he had acted valiantly, and they chose to release him free of charge with full pay. Despite getting off scot-free, De Mara was devastated and started drinking heavily, something he would do for the remainder of his life. He felt guilty for the first time in his career because he wished that he could have just kept being Dr. Sear. He was ashamed to be a fraud in a field that he truly admired. On January 28, 1952, at age 30, he sold his story to Life magazine, who posted it to widespread national attention. He received hundreds of letters from people across the globe asking him to continue practicing medicine. He received multiple job offers, one as a personal physician by a family who needed an operation for their infant daughter who felt he was, quote, a God-sent man. Even some companies wanted to hire him on and pay him full salary with no questions asked. While some of these job offers were quite enticing, De Mara was starting to experience a moderate level of fame. In fact, he had a movie made based on his life called The Great Imposter. He was on 2 separate game shows, Take a Good Look and You Bet Your Life. He was friends with Steve McQueen and gave him last rites when he died, and wait. Friends with Steve McQueen? Friends with Steve McQueen until he died? Whatever. At this point, whatever. This guy can do whatever. By the end of 1960, De Mara was 39 and was considerably obese. Wikipedia states that by this point, De Mara's girth was so notable that he could not avoid attracting attention. So essentially, he had become too fat to do impersonations anymore. De Mara spent the remainder of his life as a chaplain in Good Samaritan Hospital in Anaheim, California. He was almost dismissed when the staff learned he wasn't a priest, but they felt he gave good end-of-life advice, and many patients loved him, so he was allowed to stay on. In fact, he was so poor during the later years that he was allowed to live at the hospital until his death. He was morbidly obese by the end and died of heart failure at age 60 in 1982. The most common question he was asked was, why did you do it? He gave a variety of answers over the course of his career, but in his biography, written by Robert Crichton, he states, I've thought it out, and I believe it's true. It's rascality. Pure rascality. He impersonated monks, professors, sheriff's deputies, priests, and surgeons, all just because. Just for fun. That's literally it. Just to be a rascal. That was all. Just to troll. That's the only reason he did any of it. The final line of his biography puts it well. It occurred to me that that is perhaps exactly what he is. The champion rascal of his age. One of the last sad playboys of the Western world. That's the entire video, everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh yeah, the Q&A is coming up. Stay tuned for that. Thanks, guys. If you like this video, comment, like, subscribe, share. Yeah. I don't really have much more than that. Anyways, I'll see you.